Hi there. In this video, I want to talk about how do you figure out what business to start. A lot of young people experience this. I experienced this in my early 20s. I know I wanted to do something on my own, but it's hard to figure out, what's going to be right for you and what fits your personality and your natural talents and your natural strengths, and what's going to be something that you actually find some meaning and fulfillment out of, rather than just worrying about money. And unfortunately, sometimes those things come with experience. But my hope and my goal through this video is that I can hopefully help you save some time and some hardships by giving you some practical tools that you can use to figure that out for yourself. So that's the topic we want to cover in this video. So how do you figure out what's going to be the right business to start with? Online, on YouTube, there's plethora of business ideas, but sometimes they don't really resonate with you. So that's what I want to help you figure out. So it's going to be, structured, very systematic steps, practical, actionable steps that you can take to figure that out. So it's going to be 3 steps, okay? First step that you have to do is, you gotta take some time to kind of reflect and really find out what is it that you enjoy doing. Because if we just go from one thing to other, and unfortunately a lot of people do that, where they're just kind of going through life's motions in a cycle, or they're scrolling through social media and they're never really mindful and being, and they're not taking the time to figure out what is it that they want to do with their life. So that's going to be the first step. And the way you're going to do it is, you look at your calendar, you look at when are you going to have some downtime. It could be a Sunday afternoon where you don't have anything scheduled, you don't have any obligations. Or, it could be a weekday, it could be a morning, evening, honestly anytime. But I just want you to block some time in your calendar. At least, 1 to 2 hours. Block that time, and that's going to be, your kind of like your me time to find out what business is going to be right for you, to reflect on that. So once you have those 1 to 2 hour blocks, and then you get to the second step. So your second step is, in that time, grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and then you're going to write down that what is it that you enjoy doing. Like for me, I enjoy problem solving, and that was something that I naturally kind of gravitated towards. So in that time, write down what is it that you're good at, what maybe your current employers or your current family friends, if you're married or if you have a girlfriend, ask them. And in that time, do some self-reflection, do some digging about yourself. What is it that you enjoy doing? And a lot of times we try to do that thinking in our head, and it's hard to do all that in anything. Something I've learned over the years, think on paper. It works much better. You're able to put your thoughts down a lot better when you do it on a paper. So anyways, so go ahead and write down what is it that you're naturally good at. What is it that you enjoy doing? So just kind of go through your past experiences. For example, maybe a job that you had in the past and you really liked one part of it. So write that down. Just take some time to think and write those things down. It could be maybe what your current employer gave you a compliment on, or somebody, a family member or a loved one that they tell you, or you can even ask them, before you get to this activity. Just ask them hey, what do you feel like that I'm, professionally, maybe what I'm really good at. But that's kind of a tangent. I think you can kind of figure that out for yourself as well. So once you write those things down, that kind of gives you a starting point. Okay, these are, my natural talents, these are my natural strengths, and these are the type of problems that I like working on, or if it's any creative endeavors that you like taking on. So once you have that, to make it a little bit more solidified, we're going to go to a third step. And the third step is, I want you to take, I've personally taken this, and a lot of employers use this next test to figure out, when they hire a new person, where do they fit in the company? What's going to be the right seat for them? So they try to align that person's natural trait to a job requirement. But anyways, that third step is called a DISC. It's a DISC behavioral assessment. That's the name of the tool. And you can look it up on Google. It's spelled DISC. for the DISC assessment, and it's probably going to take you maybe 10 minutes, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, but it'll make you answer these questions. And as you're answering them, be really honest with yourself. Don't think like, okay, this is how you would want to respond, but rather like, how would you actually respond? You know, if they ask you a question about a certain problem or a certain like colleague or another person being upset at you, really answer how would you respond in that situation. Try to put yourself in that situation. But take that test, and then after you're done with the test, you know, sometimes I think that test is free. Sometimes you might have to, depending on the source you go to, you might have to pay a couple dollars, but just pay that fee. And once you have the results, then categorize your personality. So it has 4 different ones, and sometimes people are a mixture of a couple different of those personalities, but it might say something like, you know, somebody is a D, I, S, or a C. So D stands for dominance. So that's somebody that's very direct. They're a problem solver, you know, traits like that. And then somebody, for example, like I stands for influence. So that could be somebody that's really outgoing, and you know, they're very social, and they love kind of persuading people in different things. So if you find out that that's your personality, then that kind of gives you an idea like, okay, if I'm gonna start a business, I should be able to use these strengths that are natural to my personality, and also it's going to be something that you're going to be able to enjoy if you're doing that type of work that's natural to your personality. And anyways, so there's obviously a couple more of those personality. There's 4 total. And then S stands for steadiness. So those people are very patient, they're very cooperative, supportive, dependable, and they value harmony. So then you know your work has to kind of fit into some of that that's natural to you. And C being consciousness. So those consciousness people, they're really detail oriented, they're very analytical. If you find out that's you, then you're going to be able to kind of go into a field or start a business where you can leverage those skills, because once something is natural to you, it's a lot easier to become really good at it. You know, if something is not natural to you, then it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, and it's hard to find like, you know, joy in that. And obviously business is going to have some parts of it that are not going to be joyful, and you have to grind through those things. But on a bigger scale, if you're doing something that's enjoyable, you have much higher chance of being successful at it. So yeah, go ahead and take that test, and what it will also do is it'll also show you what are possibly some of your blind spots. Like people, for example, that are very conscientious, they're great with details, but sometimes they can have that paralysis through analysis. So hard for them to get things done. And once you know that about yourself, then you can actively take some action about that and be like, okay, I know my tendency is that. Maybe you can set deadlines for yourself, like, okay, this is how I'm going to get things done. But anyways, so those 3 steps, you know, block some time, take a piece of paper, write down what you're good at, you know, maybe what other people have told you, and then take this DISC behavioral assessment. And again, I don't get any type of money from DISC or anyway, I'm not, you know, sponsored by them or anything. This is just a good, valuable test that I think could be useful to a lot of people. Yeah, I hope that's helpful to you. If you're, again, this is just kind of building on a foundation of, you know, starting a small business, but any other questions and concerns you have, comment those below, and I'll try my best to answer those. And in the upcoming video, what I want to focus on is hopefully somebody that has maybe already a small business, or they're thinking about starting one, how to kind of make that a lot more meaningful and fulfilling to yourself versus just it being an income. You know, it can definitely bring you great income, but especially if it has a sense of purpose behind it, and it also kind of fits into your life really well, in somewhat of a harmonious manner. You know, business is going to have a lot of, sometimes it's busy seasons, especially when you're starting out, but at least the goal is to also make you realize what are some other important things. You know, you want to make sure that you're making time for your health, making time for your family, and what are the other important things in your life. So that's kind of what we'll cover in the next video, that you're able to live a quality, purposeful life and not just worrying so much about your business. Because once you have somewhat of that balance, it's much more meaningful life, and it's not just only your business 24/7. Okay? All right. I hope it's helpful for you, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.